Welcome to the ToniTalksDev Podcast. Once again, it's been a while because I've been busy. If you see what is happening behind my window, I moved continents. I moved from Finland to Panama, and now it's finally time to publish the next episode. So I sat down with Miikka Koskinen last December in Helsinki, and we had a great chat with Miikka about code review, being a generalist versus specialist, writing, and all different kind of stuff. Miikka has a background in mathematics and in technology. He started coding at the age of 10 and has gone through a bunch of different languages. I first met Miikka in 21 when I was interviewing for Metosin, and we were colleagues for a couple of years. But last year we met up in heart of Clojure and we had a quick chat that maybe we should do one of these podcasts, and I'm really glad that we made that happen last year. And if you're interested in teamwork, code review, helping your teams to grow and work better, I think this podcast might be for you. And without further ado, please enjoy the episode. Thank you for coming here today. Could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Miikka Koskinen, live in Helsinki, Finland, and I'm a software engineer. I've been software engineer for I don't know, maybe 15 years by this point.
Professionally,
yeah.
And we're the same age, right? 35.
Yeah, I'm turning 36 soon. Yeah.
You've had such a long career. I've been doing this professionally only for 7 years or something.
Yeah. Well, I started early because I got into coding when I was 10 years old. We had this computer at home with MS-DOS and Windows 3.11, and I was just poking around it, and there was QBasic. I don't know if you have ever tried it, but
I remember as a child seeing my cousin code games in QBasic, and I was like, how the hell does he do that? That's so cool.
Yeah. So basically, it's this DOS program that is like editor, and then you can run the code, and you write this basic. It's this old, super easy, super stupid programming language, but it came with DOS. And I asked my dad how to do this stuff, and he got me some books about it. He didn't maybe know it, even though he had been a programmer in 70s, 80s, but he had stopped by then. And he got me books, and I read the books, and I poked around. And with QBasic, there was this bundled in program, gorillas.bus, which was this scorched earth game. So you have two gorillas, and they throw bananas at each other, trying to explode the other.
I played that game.
Yeah. And I studied the code. I tried to understand how it works. And then there was nibbles.bash, which was this worm game. And that was super important for me. And, I studied them, and I tried to make games of my own. And that's how it started for me.
I always thought that my cousin had made the gorilla game.
Oh.
Now I know better.
Yeah. I guess you could say I was modding the game because, I was modifying it, but I never thought it that way, but yeah.
You remember what was your first program that you wrote yourself?
I have no idea. And I have lost all the code from that age, unfortunately.
So at the age of 10, you started coding in MS-DOS, doing BASIC, and then you went to high school to do what?
I went to Finnish Lukio high school, so it was with science orientations. I had some extra courses on physics and chemistry and biology, and I really liked the STEM subjects, and I was thinking that maybe I can be scientist when I grow up or something. It was clear that I'm going to go to the university, but it's a bit tough to know what you want to do. And while I was in high school, I was also, programming all the time. Yeah. I learned PHP. I made these web pages, and I learned some C. I had microcontrollers, and I learned Haskell. That was pretty tough when you are 15 years old. I learned Erlang. That was super inspiring, even though, of course, I didn't really have anything to really use it for. I made an IRC bot, and that was pretty cool, but yeah.
So by the time you finished high school, you had coded in BASIC, C, Erlang, Haskell.
C++ probably, then Delphi or Object Pascal. It was this Visual Basic style rapid programming development environment, and assembler, and I don't know, like all the languages. Ruby, of course. That was important. I had this Ruby phase and I really loved it. Then I haven't ever touched it as an adult, but it was really good.
Did you do this just for fun at that point?
Yeah. Like it kind of started originally that I wanted to make games like everybody does, but then at some point I kind of, the games never got made, but I really just wanted to understand how programming works and just kind of try stuff out and figure things out.
So in high school, you did a lot of programming. Did you take programming to the next level in the university, or did you do something else?
So I applied to a bunch of universities or around Finland and, different degree programs. And I chose the Helsinki University of Technology Engineering Physics and Mathematics program, mostly because it was the most difficult to get into.
Of course.
And I figured out that, if I want to change later, then I can easily get into the other ones so I'll just go to the most difficult one. And that's where I started my studies in Otaniemi.
Is it, how is it called nowadays?
It's Aalto University.
Oh, that's
now.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Is it the current Aalto?
Yeah. It was Helsinki University of Technology, or TKK back in the day, but they merged the universities, so it's Aalto now.
And how long did you do that program for?
I think I did it like 2 years or maybe 2 or 3. But then I figured out that I really like mathematics and I like mathematical logic. And then I just didn't feel that the program and the courses there were so good. So I switched to Helsinki University, or University of Helsinki, the mathematics degree program at that point.
Why did you feel like the courses were not too good? Was it that you were already advanced enough with the coding or whatever you were doing?
Well, I was studying mathematics mostly,
okay.
even there. So the courses were good, but it's like engineering program. So the mathematics was very engineering focused, and I was really interested in mathematical logic, which is much more, pure and theoretical. And it's just different universities have different opportunities. So that was also another reason.
Yeah, I can understand that perspective and the contrast between having the engineering maths. I did my degree in mostly applied mathematics, and then when I went to maths afterwards, it was a totally different game.
Yeah,
it wasn't like you just need to solve this problem. You needed to do a bit more than that.
Yeah.
So after 2 to 3 years, you switched to University of Helsinki to do mathematics. And what did you specialize in?
Mathematical logic. That's my specialization.
Okay, so you did 2 years just math logic, basically, right? For your master's.
Yeah, I had to. I hadn't done my bachelor's degree in Aalto, so I had to start from the beginning. I did get some courses accepted, but basically I did the whole thing. And I also studied some cognitive science as a minor, and also some computer science. But that was I didn't learn much. I did the minor because I had to graduate, and it was easy way to get the credits. So I just I already know this stuff. I can quickly pass the exams and do the projects. But actually, we need to go a bit back here because while I was studying in Aalto, the engineering physics program, I applied for my first engineering summer job. So I got this job at Futurize, which is like IT consulting company. And I was this was like after my first year at the university. I was super fresh. I didn't know much.
How old were you at that point?
Like 20 or so, I think.
Okay.
But they had really good summer trainee program, and they somehow managed to hire really skilled summer trainees. And Yeah, I got there. The first they took me into the IT department because I was so young and didn't really have any experience and was studying like the wrong topic and whatnot. But then after 2 weeks they were like, okay, you can do the programming, just go do that. And that's how I actually started as professional software engineer.
That was when you were at Aalto already.
Yeah.
So
2009 or so,
and then you continued working, and then you went to mathematics, and you still continued working.
So, I had a couple of these summer jobs actually, but then after I had switched to University of Helsinki, then I studied for a while, but then I hit this. How to describe it? I got stuck. My studies weren't going anywhere, and I didn't enjoy my time at university at that point. So I figured out that it's time to go do something else. And back then, Gen Robotics, it was this robotic waste sorting company, super cool at the time, like this startup. They were hiring, and I applied there. I had a friend who worked there, and he put the good word in, and I got the job and started as a full-time software engineer. That was like 2013 or so. Okay. And that was in Clojure, by the way. I hadn't ever done Clojure before. I had taken one university course about it, but that's about it.
How long did you stay at Zen Robotics?
I was there for 3 years, I think, yeah. Okay.
And you learned Clojure there?
Well, I knew the basics before, but yeah, I developed the full professional capability there.
That's cool. So at this time, 2013, you decided to put your studies on pause and go and code, and that's basically how you made your career out of coding. But eventually you got back to the university, right?
Yeah. So after a while at Gen Robotics, the company was super academic. There were all these PhDs and people with science background and super smart people. And somehow they convinced me that studying is actually cool and mathematics is really cool. And I actually took a study leave and went back to study and finished my bachelor's degree. Then I went back to work, but then at some point I switched jobs to Metosin, which is the Clojure consulting company. And
where we first met.
Yeah, I think this was 2015, 2016. And actually there my deal from the beginning was to be a part-timer so that I can continue my master's level studies. Okay,
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's now that I explain this, I haven't gone through this very complicated attempt to both graduate and become a software engineer. And
I can definitely feel the pain in trying to have a full-time job and finish masters, because I studied 3.5-4 years full-time. I worked full-time while studying, finishing bachelor's and masters, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah. The part-time setup actually worked really great for me because it put kind of constraint on me so that I had to use the time I got for studies for actually studying, and then I actually made good progress there. And then it seemed that doing 3 days a week, 4 days a week of software engineering, that worked quite well for the clients we had back then. No problem there.
That's good. So at Metosin, you started doing a lot of open source as well, right?
Yeah, that's true. Or I kind of, I guess when I joined Metosin, there already was this some open source stuff going on. There was Kekkonen, which is this CQRS library, and Clojure API, the web routing library, and other things. And I mean, Tommi Reiman, one of the founders of Metosin, was doing all these new libraries all the time. And I don't know, it was cool. I wanted to contribute a bit. And then I kind of started to, I thought that we should do a good job with the libraries. So I eventually started kind of maintaining them because that part of the job wasn't maybe getting done so well at that point. And making releases, trying to maybe look at the bugs and fix some of them and so on.
Like organizing around the work instead of just like publishing cool stuff and let it be.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I succeeded at super well, but at least I tried to do it a bit.
Did you do any open source before that, or was that all new to you at that point?
I must have done some, but I don't remember doing anything notable. But
not actively, at least.
Not actively. Maybe I published some projects of my own, but I don't think anyone used them or anything like that.
Do you still maintain any of these? I haven't checked the repositories lately. I don't know if you have any contributions there, but after you left Metosin, did you just like leave that life behind and let's try something new? Or
Yeah. I left that to like there were Metosin libraries. Metosin will maintain them. I have this collection of these Clojure micro libraries. I do maintain them, but I think I've gotten like one issue in 2 years or something like that. So yeah, they don't need much care.
Your own libraries. I don't know if I've ever even heard of them.
There's what do I even have? I have this CLJ base 62 maybe. It's this encoding library that it's super stupid and you shouldn't use it, but I made it, so I maintain it, and a couple of like two other really like small libraries.
Okay, so you stayed at Metosin around 5 years, right?
I think 6 years in total. Yeah.
And you were the one who did the technical interview when I joined.
Yeah.
And we already started talking about code review and how to talk about code back then. And when we first started talking about like maybe we should do a podcast and maybe code review would be a good topic for us.
Yeah.
I remember the experience being really pleasant. Like I did not have too much pressure like to deliver or anything, like no lead code or anything. But at least in a technical interview context where we were just looking into my code, it kind of felt like a code review in a sense. That I was just trying to explain like what I was thinking here, why did I do that? And me being pretty new to Clojure, it was kind of like intimidating for me to have one of those Metosin Clojure like professionals like judging me. But it ended up going well, at least from my end, and the experience was pleasant.
Yeah. So the weird thing is that nobody ever taught me how to interview. So I read a bunch of articles on the internet and just tried to figure out like what I would like and how to get some good signal. And then I just made something up and it worked, I think. But glad to hear it was pleasant. I don't really remember what I asked you, but
I think I had something that I was resizing images in memory when you upload an image, and there was some kind of, I don't know exactly, but that was something like that. And that was probably the most complicated Clojure that I had written at that moment.
Yeah.
But do you take like similar approach to code review as well? Like just like more kind of understanding what is happening instead of like trying to find the flaws and like poke holes to PRs.
So you have to ask like, why are you doing code review? Yeah. And when I talk about code review, I mostly mean like in software engineering company context, like you have a team developing some software and you do code review. And often it's seen as this gatekeeping activity. So it's like the last bastion defending against the bugs or something. But that's not really how I think about it. I think it's opportunity for collaboration. So there's the PR author and then there's the reviewer. And really like the task of the reviewer is to help the author to create like the best possible version of the change. And that really guides the process. And so when I review some code, first thing I try to do is to understand what's going on. Like what's the point of the change, and how the code changes actually then implement that change. And that often leads to quite useful comments, because if there's something that I don't understand, then that's good opportunity to ask, like, what is going on here? Maybe I haven't understood everything. Maybe the code could be clarified, or sometimes it happens that there's actually like bug, and like the original author maybe didn't understand it either. So that's like really the starting point for me.
It's more like just sharing information back and forth and seeing if you are both on the same page.
Yeah.
And then you can start digging in deeper, like, okay, could we improve this somehow?
Yeah.
I want to go back to the question, why do code review? Because our common friend Joel did a great presentation about code review in general. And I think he asked the question, like, why do you do that? Like, I think a lot of companies just do that by default without even thinking about it. Or that was, I think, if I remember correctly, Joel's hypothesis, or...
Yeah, I definitely agree with him about that.
And I hadn't even really thought about that, since I'm fairly new to the industry. Like, okay, you do code reviews, but then that got me thinking, okay, why do you do them? What is the point? Are you just trying to have some last attempt of QA, or are you actually doing something to share information or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember ever being in a context where that was clear, except one time when I was working with Joel on a project.
Yeah, I mean, currently I work for Oura, and we have this policy about how to develop software, and it says that all code that goes to production must be reviewed by at least one person. And you could stop at that. We have policy, and it says that you must review the code. So, but maybe that feels kind of useless, and really.
Like review by bureaucracy. Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, why bother? Maybe you can just press approve, and maybe that's enough.
Looks good to me.
Yeah. But really though, when you are doing software engineering, and it's kind of team sport, it's not just that there's one person doing the code, but actually like you have a team, and all of you need to understand the code on some level. You need to be able to change it. You need to be debug it when it goes to, if you are running it in like on server in production somehow, maybe there's operational issues, you need to go back there and see what's going on. And code review is really an opportunity for collaboration and code or information sharing. So that both of you, like the author of the change and the reviewer, you develop this common mental model of what's going on in the code. And this allows all this stuff to happen later, all the debugging and changing the code and so on.
Yeah. So what I'm reading in the lines is that when you do code review quotes correctly, you kind of create this shared responsibility, shared ownership, because everybody's involved in that process or something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say correctly, because there's no one correct way of doing it, of course. Yeah. But I think it's good tool for getting to this goal of creating this shared understanding.
Yeah. What else? Like, is there any other reasons why you do code review right now, or do you know if there's like different kind of approaches to that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, I mean, you of course do find the flaws. That shouldn't be discounted, but it is useful aspect of it. It's also can be opportunity for mentoring. For example, if the author is more junior developer, the reviewer is more senior, you can guide the author to possibly better ways of doing things, or just towards the way that things are done here, which matters for the cohesion.
Like onboarding and teaching the traditions of the project, or?
Certainly. Cool. And also, by the way, also the juniors should review the senior people's code, because that's a great opportunity for them to ask that what's going on here, and why are you doing this change like this? And the senior person should be able to explain it. Or if they don't, maybe it's time to,
think about
it and go back and maybe change something.
Yeah. I've like my first years doing code reviews or whatever, it always felt like weird for me to review people's code who've been coding way longer than I had.
Yeah. But the thing is, in a team, all members should be able to understand most of the code. Yeah. So if you are like junior guy, you still have to understand the code that the senior people are writing. And if you don't, then it's really on them and not on you. Yeah. Maybe there could be some really exceptional code that is super difficult and only like the most senior people can understand it. But it should be this rare exception and not the normal.
That makes sense. And if you look at it from the perspective of sharing knowledge, shared ownership, it makes all the sense that the junior checks out the senior's code.
Yeah.
But like if you don't have that mindset, it's probably difficult to kind of like switch the gears into the position that, okay, I just joined the company, my first coding gig ever. Now I'm to review the code of this person who's been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah. And I don't know if anybody teaches really code review, for example, at the university or places like that.
I did not have such a class at least.
Yeah.
From code review, what do you say if we move to writing? You write a lot about coding.
I write a lot, yeah. I have this blog called QuantType, or it's quanttype.net. Right now I'm writing there these week notes, where every week I write about some topic that has been on my mind. Actually, just two weeks ago, I wrote about code review because it was on my mind.
Okay.
But this is kind of this practice for me to clarify these thoughts that have been on my mind and create this record that I can go back to, and also share my thinking with both like my teammates at work and all my friends in the industry and in general just other people.
What were you thinking when you wrote the last week note about code review? Did we already talk about it here?
No. I wrote that code reviews happen too late quite often.
Okay.
So
I read that.
Yeah. I'll explain it. So because code review it's an opportunity for collaboration, right? So if you do it so that order you make the change and then you feel that it's practically ready, and then only at that point you ask for review, then it's actually like kind of late, because what if you have somehow taking the wrong approach and then the reviewer comes in and is like, hey, you have to throw all of this away.
Yeah.
It's really tough thing to say as a reviewer as well.
And it's not too nice to take that feedback.
Yeah. And nothing about that situation is not nice. And to avoid that, you need to start not necessarily the review process, but the collaboration process early. So, you talk with the people that, hey, I'm going to do this change. I'm going to do it like this. Mm-hmm. Then maybe you write some code. Maybe you ask for review on some draft that, hey, does this look good? And then the reviewer is like thumbs up and go ahead. And then they are already invested also. Like that's the way to go. And you get the feedback much earlier. It can be much more effective, like on the overall structure of the code, and just I think it makes it much nicer and more efficient.
Yeah, it makes sense that if you share your ideas already, let's say 2 weeks before the code review happens, if you're working on something big, and the person who eventually stamps the code to pass, they already know kind of the approach, and they can even follow up during the process. If you're the type of person who goes and asks for the feedback.
Yeah.
But like from this perspective, I totally agree that it would be useful. But in my case, I usually try to like finish things before asking for feedback, at least in a traditional code review thing. So it kind of makes me think that this is one of those things, once again, that you need to have the company policy to have this kind of culture around code review instead of having some toxic like check in the box review at the end of the process.
Yeah. And code review, it requires this cultural buy-in and this safety. Like it needs to be okay to show this unfinished work, and you have to trust that the people you show it to, that they are compassionate about it. That they understand that it's unfinished and it doesn't have to be perfect at that point, and they give you the kind of feedback that help you make it better, and instead of like shooting it down.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think I've had some bad experiences that I don't feel like I want to put it out there so that every little nitty-gritty thing don't get poked at too early.
Yeah, I've definitely had that kind of experience as well, and it's just not fun. And that's big reason why you should go for this good code review culture that I'm describing here, is that it's just much more fun and nice to work that way.
Do you think, do you know if anybody is writing about this kind of stuff online, like on a larger scale with larger audience?
I have no idea, to be honest. Like a lot of people have given good talks about this, and there are these blog posts, but I don't think there's like one go-to resource about this topic.
Yeah. Because I really cannot think of anybody else but you and Joel who have actually talked about this in this extent.
Yeah.
And maybe like I don't know if it was from you, the emotional code video, or if it was from you.
But both me and Joel love this video. It's I think it's by Kate Gregory, maybe, at some C++ conference. Yeah, that's definitely a great one.
So I'm just thinking that if there's like a movement behind this, like, can you point me towards that?
Yeah, I don't think there's a movement, unfortunately.
Oh.
There's a lot of people who know this stuff and are trying to make it happen in small ways in their workplaces, but I don't think there's like one word for it or anything like that.
It's probably really difficult to like get the buy-in from everybody because, frankly, a lot of people probably don't care. It's more about the soft values and communication that is not the highest value thing in technology in general.
So I'm not so sure.
Okay.
People enjoy it when things are going well like this, and like by leading by example, you can go a long way. Of course, some people can be more abrasive and maybe not so interested, but still, people do like working together in general.
No, that I agree, and like the showing by example or teaching by example, that's a great way. But like I'm just thinking a bit like in the larger scale, like have this kind of movement, like let's do this all together or something. Yeah. Instead of like creating a new JavaScript library and then everybody gets like, whoop, this is the greatest thing or something.
Yeah. And this kind of organizational technology, then it becomes the kind of thing that Scrum is, for example, where you have these consultants and certificates and courses. And I think it probably was a great thing when it was, first invented. But then as taught by these books and everything, it's very rigid and just, gets in your way. So I suspect that this nice code review movement could suffer similar fate.
Yeah, I can imagine agile coaches being in the code reviews, kind of giving pointers and telling what you can do and what you cannot do. Yeah. That would be terrible.
Yeah.
More about writing. Have you found any like benefits from writing itself, like besides the internal process, like wording your thoughts and writing them out, sharing them? Any side effects you might have noticed?
I feel like there are these 3 levels of benefits. So first is the internal. So when I write stuff, I have to clarify my thoughts and really like refine them and have some good arguments and whatnot. Okay, so that's good in itself. Then the second level is when I share this writing with my friends, and it's often like great conversation starter, and then people then reflect on it and share their own experiences, and they might have good questions and everything. And then sometimes when the writing gets shared at the larger scale, like you get it to Hacker News or something like that, that's very good for your reputation. Yeah. So last time I was looking for a job, I made this series of blog posts about database schema migrations, and I think they did quite well. They were at least on Lobsters, maybe they were on Hacker News, and when I wrote these job applications, I included some blog posts, like links that, hey, check out this stuff I wrote, it's kind of relevant to what you are doing. And definitely at the companies, the hiring managers were like they had seen the links and they were like, hey, wow, you can write. And it definitely helped me to get the job.
Cool. There's a funny coincidence. I was just talking with Daniel, who's doing a conference talks and a lot of meetup things and stuff like that. And he told me that just by being there on the stage, people seeing the pictures that you are talking at a conference is enough for you to get a level up. So I kind of feel like this writing a blog post and people just seeing that you write is already putting you on a higher pedestal or something.
Yeah, and to be frank, I think the hiring managers, they hadn't read the blog posts actually. They had just seen them. So the reputation asset is already
it comes just from the visibility.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I think if they had read the posts, they would have been convinced, even more convinced. So I think it worked okay.
Do you write anything else but technical stuff? Do you just keep it at tech blog, or is there anything else?
I just started this new newsletter about my outdoors hobbies, because I hike and kayak and skate and climb and so on. I still haven't gotten the first post out. It's called smallrapids.net. But yeah, if anyone wants to learn more about tour skating safety, I'm working on the first post coming I don't know, next week. And yeah.
Okay. How did you get into tour skating? Did I get that correctly?
Yeah, or Nordic skating is the other name.
Okay.
I think I saw it in YouTube and it looked really cool. People are skating on these lakes that are mirror. They have a mirror reflection and it looks amazing. And yeah, I just decided to start doing it and joined the club, went on a course and so on. Turns out that it's not quite as nice all the time as it looks on YouTube, but it's still really good when it's good.
Nice outdoor hobby anyways.
Yeah.
And in Finland, it's winter all the time, so you need to have something. Yeah. So tech blogging and newsletter about outdoor hobbies. How did you end up writing about that or starting to think about writing about that? What is the benefit from the subscriber? What do they get out of this? Just stories about it, or?
I think, yeah. They get these stories and also I'm going to write about some skills and practices and sharing that information. For example, in tour skating, the safety is a big thing. And I'll probably have series of posts about that. So I think that's going to be interesting for anyone doing skating.
That's cool. I can see that it's interesting to read about it if you're into it, but if you get the tips and tricks and how to do that safely, I can see that happening. That's a good subscribe.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to mix it up a bit so that there's this some stuff that is interesting for people who are not doing it, and then more of these details for the interested.
So kind of balance between the story and the facts, kind of.
Yeah.
So I take from all of this that you enjoy writing, right?
So it seems, yeah.
Any books coming?
Maybe one day. I've thought many times about writing a book, and I've sketched some, tables of contents, but I haven't got anything going on right now.
Yeah, let's see next time you visit the podcast if you have something already. Cool. We also talked about that it would be interesting to touch upon teamwork, because you've been thinking about that lately at work.
Yeah. What should I say about it?
Say the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. When I think about other people at work, my default stance or assumption is that they are reasonable people trying to do good job. And when this comes up is that when somebody does something that I don't like, or they do something that to me seems that they are maybe doing poor work, or anything like that, it's easy at that point to say that, okay, they are incompetent, they are lazy, or something like that. And I don't think that's really good thing to say, or it won't help you to understand them, and it won't help you to, deal with the situation. But if you assume that they are trying to do a good job, then you can ask that, why did they do this thing in different way that I would have done it, or would have liked it to be done.
Like if you see like an obvious flaw in something that might have been obvious in some context, you try to understand like what is happening in this person's life in this context when they could not see that, or something like this.
Yeah. For example, like I work for a fairly big company, and our team has made some internal tools, and then there's kind of a question sometimes that why do some other teams do not use the nice tools we have made for them? Are they like stupid, or is it maybe because they have not heard that we have made them? They don't know that like we have these tools to solve their problems. I think it's probably the latter one, but it's kind of easy to dismiss that option without thinking.
Yeah, it's really important to try to get the big picture. And if you're too focused on your job and your little bubble, it can be also a kind of difficult to just like get out of that mindset and trying to see what's happening.
Yeah.
I've had quite a bit of that lately at work. I don't remember if I've told you, but I became an interim PO.
Oh, cool.
At the same place that you work at Metosin.
Yeah.
And now it seems that I will continue that for a while. And I've actually enjoyed that, which is weird.
Nice.
And it's more about people. I haven't written code in a while again, but a lot of things just need to understand, like, where are these people coming from? Why they have this ask, or where are these people coming from? Like, why did they do this?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And it's definitely made me even more conscious about how the people are feeling, because that will affect the stuff that happens at work.
Yeah.
So I've been doing confluence-driven development lately quite a bit.
Yeah. Sometimes that's needed, and that's good opportunity to hone your writing skills as well.
Yeah, I've been writing quite a lot of memos lately, which has been useful.
Yeah.
Do you think that the teamwork and trusting that people are always trying their best is like essentially tied to trust itself? And especially in this remote world, I don't know if you work fully remotely, or how do you guys work?
Mostly remotely, yeah.
And then when you're not really building trust outside the work context, it can be really difficult to actually have the connection. At least I for sure do.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. And I think to build trust, you have to trust a bit too much yourself. And that's how it gets going. But it's not really the default mode for most humans to do it.
Yeah, especially like, let's say that we meet online and I need to trust that you do whatever you say and you do a good job at it. It would be so much easier for me to do that if I had met you and we had a good chat and good rapport from before. But if I just need to trust an avatar online to do something, it's a totally different game.
Yeah. And remote work, it's missing a lot of these small chats that you would have, and even sometimes you don't see, especially like if you don't work in the same team, but you might work in the same organization, and you don't ever really see the person doing anything. It's just like this avatar that pops up and maybe comes ask you something, but you have no idea that who they are or what they do, because you haven't seen them do anything. And if you were working at the office, at least you had seen that, okay, it's this guy that, he comes in at the same time as I do every day, and I don't know his name, but at least we greet each other or something.
They look like a person. It's not a chatbot or something like that. But yeah, I've been thinking about that lately. It was kind of like a tangent from here, but I've been reading this book called Building Trust in Business Relationships, whatever. But it has a lot of different definitions of trust and how to build them and what are like the prerequisites for the different kind of trust. So it was kind of interesting from this angle. I cannot cite anything from the book, but I think you might enjoy that as well in this
I'll have to check it out.
Any other insights from teamwork coming as lately?
I actually want to tie this back to code review.
Oh, cool.
Because if you, as a reviewer, you have to also trust that the author is really trying their best. And I think it's often, if you are in this gatekeeping mindset, you are trying to find these flaws. But actually the author of the pull request, they often are the best expert on it, really. And there's a reason for why they have done the choices they have done. And you are welcome to ask like what's going on. But really though, one of my big beliefs is that if there's a conflict, then it's the author of the pull request who decides that they own the pull request and they decide when it's ready, unless there's some really blocking thing like some security flaw or something. But this is not a common way of thinking about it.
Okay. So did I get correctly that the person who orders the pull request like that asks for review, the person themselves are responsible for saying like this is done, now he can go. Yeah, okay. Usually it's the other way around in companies that the reviewer is kind of like, okay, now you can go, but before you tick these boxes, you need to stay here.
Yeah, but I think like if you are asking for review, you should take the feedback you get seriously. Yeah. You are asking for it for a reason. Yeah. So you probably should do many of the changes that are proposed. But then there may be some questions where it's not obvious what to do. Then it's you as the author who gets to decide.
It's more like a subjective thing at that point, like more about opinions and like likes and dislikes instead of like being right
sometimes should we do it this way or that way? They are basically the same, but just do it the way you like, and stuff like that.
I like how you took the teamwork and building trust back to the code review. It kind of ties all of this together. And if we summarize, to have better code reviews, we need more trust and better teamwork. And that's kind of like the whole like beef of the work itself.
Yeah.
That teams should work better together instead of just trying to be soloing and getting their PRs reviewed as they have like presented them.
Yeah. My experience is that even with the solo work style, you can get a lot done, but in the long term, people like it much better if they actually collaborate. And it makes the team more resilient because you actually have some shared understanding of things and so on.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Like if you're a really small team and the project is not too big to have more soloing because there's not too much space that you can collaborate on. But when the team grows and the product grows, you need to share that responsibility and start working together.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's like a certain kind of space, like size of a project or a team where you kind of need to transfer more towards the shared domain from the solo act? Or if you even think that way?
I haven't really thought about it that way. But maybe I think it like maybe if the project needs to live a long time, then there has to be sharing of this knowledge because people might leave, but the company is left with the project. Yeah. So at least from the perspective of company, you want to have multiple people who understand it. If it's just some short-lived thing or prototype, for example, or some migration maybe, then then it's not so important to have this shared understanding. But for longevity, then it's a must.
So if you're working on something that will haunt the developers to come, then it's better to have the shared domain instead of just doing some routine maintenance tasks that are not really visible later.
Yeah.
That's a good heuristic for like thinking about like, oh, should I bring these people along already for this one or just wait for later? We also, when preparing for this talk, you mentioned that you've been thinking about Python object storage stuff lately.
Those are separate things.
Okay. I see where we are at. Object storage as like S3?
S3, yeah. That's that's what I actually think about, but I just say object storage.
Okay, because I was confused, like Python object storage, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Well, let's go with it.
You should always ask.
Yeah, I'll let you tell the story and I'll just be wrong on air. That's okay.
Yeah.
So, what has AWS done to you lately?
They have done many good things. Like we use it a lot at work, and it's a great platform. What's interesting about S3 specifically, it got this new feature that you can do these compare and swap operations. So, I mean, you can upload their files, but maybe you would like to do this more database or distributed system style thing where you swap to the file to another one if it hasn't changed. And this kind of distributed system building block. And now I'm not really an expert on this, but it has been on my mind lately that I think this will enable all kinds of new cool databases to be built on S3 or simplify some existing stuff. Because right now people really want to build on S3 because it's cheap, it's durable, it's easy to use, and there are plenty of these alternative implementations or alternative offerings, and it's just like people have more and more data, and they want to put it there. But there's a twist. The API request costs are very expensive, so you have to figure out that how to batch writes, or you can do small writes there, or your money will go to the request costs. That's really the interesting design constraint there.
So the storage is cheap, but accessing the data is expensive.
Yeah, and I don't have any conclusion on there. It has been on my mind. I think this is going to be a big thing in the database scene. Maybe we will see, like, let's check in a year and see what's going on.
Let's see if any listeners have opinions on this.
Yeah.
So leave a comment if you do.
Yeah.
As I told you, I have really been just writing memos lately. So like this kind of news, never even heard of that. So it's good to get up to date with these updates in the tech space as well. But we've talked quite a bit, like a lot of stuff already from code reviews to different kind of technologies. You programmed a bunch in different languages, done open source. Now you work in Python at Aura. You did Clojure at Metosin. And one last thing that we had put here on the roadmap for this talk is that you've been thinking about being a generalist, even though you would like to be a specialist.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little?
Sure. So, as you described, I've done a bunch of things, which is very generalist thing to do a lot of things. And actually, a few years ago, when I was still at Metosin, I felt that now it's time to specialize in some technology. And that's actually why I left and I started looking for these database-related jobs. I wanted to specialize in databases. And I found this great job where we are building this internal database, and we have all these database-like problems with schemas and distributed systems and whatnot. somehow, nevertheless, I have ended up doing really like wide variety of stuff, some technical work, but also some people work and on bunch of systems and so on. And so I keep thinking that I want to become a specialist, but somehow it never happens. And this has been on my mind. I'm not sure like where my career should go next. Will I ever become a specialist? Is that even worth trying to do? I have no idea at this point.
Do you? I don't know if you spend time outside work thinking about this or like putting the time to learn something. But if you do you spend that time on trying to specialize or be a generalist?
I don't really think like it like that. Maybe that's the problem. I keep trying to learn interesting stuff.
You can keep talking. I need to fix the camera.
Yeah. So, and I guess I'm interested in a large number of things, which helps with generalizing. But really though, actually the problem is maybe at the work, because I try to do what is missing on the team.
Okay.
And it tends to be so that over a longer career, it's always some different thing that is missing. So you end up doing this number of these things. And often it's people work. And I don't want to become a manager, but somehow that's another thing that just keeps happening. Or planning work or things like that.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I'm sorry about the camera. We had some problems previously as well. But the people work kind of takes time. And if you don't have somebody doing the glue work itself, like, do you just need to take it that things are not working? How can you concentrate if things are not working around you? At least I feel like the pressure that we need to fix the surroundings first.
Yeah, that's another problem. But you can't never fix everything.
Yeah,
like it's too much.
Just continue. I'll fix this.
You can, if you are individual contributor, you are working in a team. You can maybe make the team work well, but you can't really fix everything around the team. Like you can't fix the company. Like it's just like way above your pay grade.
Sphere of influence kind of ends somewhere as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the question that I asked, because I had this moment maybe like 10, 15 years ago, because at the time I thought that I wanted to be a musician and I thought that I wanted to do certain kind of music. And then I had this chat with a dude who at the time was studying jazz in Copenhagen or something. And I told him like, I would like to do this kind of stuff. Like it was something related to jazz.
Yeah.
And then he was asked me like, why don't you do it? I'm like, shit, maybe I don't want to do that after all. Like I thought that I wanted to do, at the time I spent my time like learning how to code and get into this new career.
Yeah.
But just the fact that I had been thinking that I want to do that.
Yeah.
But my actions were proving me wrong.
Yeah.
And I was spending it elsewhere. And nowadays, when I think about, I would like to do something, I'll try to fact check myself that where do I spend my free time when I have the energy? Like, where do I put that energy?
Yeah, that's a fair call out. Maybe I'm going to walking into the same trap that you've been walking into. And on one hand, I'm not even sure what I mean by being a specialist, because there's a lot of things I know a lot about, but so it becomes this unattainable goal to truly know some subject, but there's always too much to learn or more to learn.
You can always do a PhD.
Yeah. That's like another trap to walk into.
Maybe that's the way to get like a stamp on specialist.
Yeah. No, I mean that's just a start of your career.
Yeah.
Like that's when you are only like science beginner when you get that stamp, and then you know
That's true. When you look at that PhD from outside the science community, it kind of feels like you already attained something.
I think you definitely have attained something once you get the PhD. But really, if you think about the whole career, you only gotten to the edge of knowledge, and it only starts there.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes all sense. We've had this chat with Martin at the Oulu office quite many times. Every time somebody says that somebody is specialized in something, and he has a PhD and a science background, so every time there's something ringing the specialized bell, he's like, okay, let's see if this checks it. You cannot really call yourself a specialist unless you're an actual specialist. And from my context, it looks a bit different than from his perspective.
Yeah.
So that kind of reminded me of that. So, do you think that wanting to be a specialist is kind of like more like trying to see what's out there where you want to go, and it's more like maybe this would like fill in the empty space or whatever that I had in the future if I just arrived here as a specialist or something? Or where do you think it comes from?
Yeah, that could be. As a kid, I thought that maybe I would like to be a scientist when I'm adult. And I never became a scientist, but I think maybe it's part of the same drive to kind of try to understand things and explore things. And if you really want to dig into something, then like, can you really dig into something if you are like this generalist who does everything? You really have to focus to really get to the edge of the knowledge and to push the edge further. Yeah. So I think I have this on some level, this kind of idea that it's something I should do. I'm not sure if that's true. Like, do I really actually want to do it if I'm not, doing it? But
that makes sense. Like, of course, let's say I still, for example, in my case, want to do music, but I don't feel like the pull towards it. But I still have the feel like I would want to do that.
Yeah.
Who knows what is happening? But just the fact that we want to go somewhere, in your case, it might be the specialist.
Yeah.
It's kind of like drive that keeps you learning more, whether it's in the generalist context, but just that personality that strives towards that is kind of like making you go further than others might go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to have that crutch, if you may.
Yeah. And I mean, on some ways, being a specialist is super easy. Just take some really niche thing and then be the best in the world at it. Like, I guess at some point I maybe was the best person on something like Clojure script unit testing or something like that, because I happened to maintain the one test runner or whatever. And I mean, or maybe I wasn't best, but there are maybe like 5 people who could be said being in the top rank. But that's really, really niche specialist thing. Like who cares about that?
Yeah.
So you also need to. It's not enough to know something about some really niche thing, but it actually has to matter on some level.
Yeah, that makes sense. That if you have this knowledge that is not useful to anybody, does it really matter to you at that point anymore? Of course, if the content of that topic is really dear to you, of course it matters. But maybe you see what I'm trying to aim at here.
Yeah. And I mean, my idea of being this kind of specialist and an expert in general is within some kind of community. So you have other people with whom to share that work and share the understanding. It's not interesting to go alone, basically.
That makes sense. This makes me think that, did you start thinking about this after moving away from Clojure, or was it already back then in your mind?
It was already back then in my mind.
Okay.
Like, you could say I'm a Clojure specialist as well, but really, like, I'm not really a programming language person. I care more about the problems that we are solving, that the tool we are using. Clojure is great programming language, no problem there, but it's not my identity or anything.
Yeah, so do you think that there's any type of problem that you would like to be a specialist in?
That's a good question. I mean, databases keep fascinating me, and how to store the data, both on on like very technical level, that how it's actually stored, how to search it, how to make it efficient. Then on also like data modeling level, how to make how to model the data, and especially how to do the migrations, because the model has to evolve, and that's really like annoying problem I've run into it many times during my career.
Implications when you change something somewhere, and if you have dependencies that are not updated exactly at the same time, it kind of keeps cascading in a way.
Yeah.
How would you feel about being the specialist in code review?
Code review specialist.
What would that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because it's a topic I keep coming back and again and again over the years. But yeah, I guess like the code review community is missing though.
But would it be like the whole IT sector, basically, the programming industry in general?
Yeah, I don't know if it works like that. And also, being code review specialist is kind of stupid, because it's not about code review. It's about the whole process and like having the trust and safety. And code review is just one component, but you could replace it with, for example, pair coding or something else.
You could consider also like organizational psychology in the context of software development.
Yeah. I'm not going to become expert in that, but
But I think I mentioned to Joel at some point that maybe he should like make the presentation that he had on code review public or something like that. That would be interesting. Like, you probably want to team up on something like that. You both share good ideas, and I think they deserve to be out there in the public. So
yeah,
maybe I could give you guys a little push that please publish this.
We need to get you to market it because I have to say we aren't very good at marketing. Like, it's what it is. But you have the knack for it, so maybe you can help us there.
Cool. I think we can start wrapping up. Do you have any like shameless self-plug that you want to throw here? Advertise your blog, work, anything?
Read my blog, quantype.net. If you are interested in outdoor stuff, also smallrabbits.net, you can subscribe there. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
If you found your way until the end, thank you for watching. And if you found any value or you found this entertaining or anything, please consider subscribing. Until next time, thank you. Ciao.